you want to ask me anything? I'm open.
Oh, we got a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
We got a lot to ask y'all. But thank you, ma'am. I want to first ask you why the hair business. What made you want to get into the salon business? How did you start out? Some of the challenges that you endured, because I know all the background, but you know some of the stories that y'all have told me, since we're talking about Black history here, because y'all were in a time where you started out doing segregation, so you had no choice but to support Black business because you couldn't go anywhere else. And then trying to get your license, you know, the difficulties that you faced trying to get your license because you had to go up before a white board, you know, as a Black business person. So talk about that.
Well, the way license was suspended back in those days when I came through with mine, it was a Black shop. You got your license from a Black shop here in Savannah. And, you know, the board had picked out, every town had a Black shop that you can go to and
get your apprenticeship, right?
Get your apprenticeship, and after that, then you go to that same Black shop and they issue your license.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's how you got your license back then. You know, it changed over the years, but back then it was kind of hard. It was kind of hard back then. But I got into business because I didn't have a job in the first place, and I was sitting in front of a man's shop that I admire. Today he's gone now, but
tell him who it is.
Solomon's Barber Shop on MLK. I was sitting out there with some more little young fellas, and we was playing checkers. And he walked to the door and asked me, he said, "Boy, you want to do some hair?"
This sounds like temptation. I love it.
I looked all around. I said, I wonder who you talking to. I said, what? He said, "I'm talking to you." And so I thought about that thing. I said, "Well, you ain't doing nothing else but playing checkers." You know?
Straight up.
So I went inside, and he had some guys in there, and the process was out there. Doing process, what we call now the finger waves. Well, they didn't always call the finger wave, it was called the process. And so he had these guys in there, and I called myself washing their head, but I like to drown them. you know, I didn't know nothing about no. And that's how I got started. You know what I mean? And I kept on, and until I got to wanting to do it. And then it got where it started bugging me at night. I started dreaming about hair. And so I wound up, they called me the king of the waves right now in Savannah. You know?
Actually, you still do waves.
I'm still doing the waves.
Still doing fake, and I seen it coming back too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything comes
done
back.
quite a few of them today. You know?
Yes.
But my wife, I taught my wife how to do the waves, so she's just as good as I am now. You know, and we knocking the waves down. But we do a lot more than the waves. We do it all. I mean, well, she do it all. You know, I'm slowing down now.
You know? You're just security now.
Yeah, I'm security from the outside.
So what made you want to get into doing hair?
Okay, but you stop me if I'm talking too much.
We got a whole hour to
I'm
kill.
gonna go back, okay?
No,
Okay.
It's all about you two.
All right, but I'm gonna go back when I got started. How I got
Go
started.
for it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my mother at the time, she had 10 kids, 7 daughters at the time. So back in the days, you know, I'm not gonna tell my age, but back in the day, we couldn't like go to the beauty salons and all this kind of stuff. So my mom taught me with a straightening comb how to straighten the hair, her hair, and whoever hair that needed straighten. There was no electricity in the house, so at the time I had to put the straightening comb in the fireplace. But anyway, that's how I got my start, working with hair. Then when I was a young girl, there was something, you don't know anything about it, but there was tall grass that used to grow called Johnson grass. The roots would be as long as long enough like here.
Otherwise, we had our own grass, Johnson grass.
No.
This is what you call the grass because of the roots were so long. We would get a Coca-Cola bottle. If you know anything about the heavy bottles, we would put the grass pot in the bottle with the water, and not the grass itself, and the roots is up, springing up. We would wash all this mud and sand out of it, and this would be the hair that we style and plait it, roll up, whatever, put enough. But anyway, make a long story short, that was my plaything. But as time went by,
Hold on, I gotta interrupt. It's right there, real quick. Well, you cannot tell me black people are not innovative.
I promise I was just about to write it down. Like the innovation.
but they were the only toys that we had to play with as far as dogs, because like I said, my mom couldn't get us toys. So we played with this grass. We found things on the outside to play with and make believe things. But let me tell you this. Okay, I was working on a job before I started doing hair at National Indian Service. I put in 18 years there. My husband was already doing hair at the time. I never thought that I would even get interested in doing hair because some time had passed that I wasn't doing hair. I always did his hair or did my hair, but I wasn't like doing, for a profession. So anyway, after he opened the shop, before I even left my job, I used to come in on the weekends and just help out to get accustomed to the place because I was planning on leaving my job. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, he suggested, why don't I go to school and get my license, because in those days I had to go to school. But this is the thing. I tried to go to an all-black school, but I had to go at night because I was still trying to hold down my daytime job. Mm-hmm. They wasn't doing any night students. So the school that I ended up going to that would take me at night was Savannah School of Cosmetology. Mm-hmm. I went there, I registered. There was a certain amount of money that I needed for down tuition, which I had, which was all we had. But my husband, I believe he wanted this for me more so than. But anyway, we got the money together. We paid the tuition for it. Mm-hmm. My first night there, I used to have to come in at 6 o'clock in the afternoon and stay there till 10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. When I got there, when I found out I was the only black student there, I was the first black student there.
History.
Yes. And I can't recall now exactly how old I was. Oh, yes, I was. I was 40 years old at the time. I'm not going to go back why I waited so long, but I did have to wait until my son finished his high school, graduate, go into the military, so I can do something for myself, because I wasn't even a high school graduate. But I went back to school, got my GED, went on to start cosmetology. Well, when the hard part came in, I was not accepted. I had to look over my shoulder all the time because I was afraid. I was the only black woman there, only black person there, the only night person there, from 6 in the afternoon to 10 at night. The only black student. There were no customers coming in. I had no clientele at that time of night. So I had a roll of mannequins all over the place. I had to work on mannequins to make up my credit hours. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I would be so tired off my job. I would look at these mannequins and they start look like they're looking back at me. But I had to stick with it because I had to get these hours. I had to get them. The teacher that I had there, I had to give him credit because he was a very, very nice man. You know, he was very supportive. Mm-hmm. The lady that was there, they were very supportive, and they were the other color.
Yeah, you can say white people.
They were white.
Oh yeah, right. We forgot to put the disclaimer. The viewpoints expressed in the preceding program are not necessarily those WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. Okay. It may contain subject matter and realistic language that some listeners may find objectionable. Listener discretion is advised. Boom. Say what you gotta say.
Okay, but I have to say, they were in my corner. They were in my corner. The customers did not want me to touch their hair. That's why I had to work on mannequins. I had to do what I had to do. But I was faster with mannequins and get my theory on hair work quicker than the other young people that were there, whether white. Mm-hmm. They didn't like that because I was advancing more than they were, because they were seeing how fast I was progressing, and I was doing good. I had to do hands right. I was there at night and I was doing hands-on work, first viewing work, because the instructor there had a beauty salon over in Hilton Head where he was had the customers that were golfers. Mm-hmm. So when after hours they would come to Savannah or they would come to Savannah and get their hair cut. And he was charging a lot of money for that. But I was there watching everything he did, and I was getting my credit hours by hands-on work, observation, seeing exactly what he's doing, handing him instruments that he needed, and I was still getting my hours. I was getting my book work because I had a lot of time with no customers, so I had to stick to the books. So to make a long story short, I advanced more than those people did. I really did. And I was around enough till the other customers got used to seeing me. Then I started acting, can I wash your hair for you now? You know, you have to be polite. So I started shampooing hair with this thing that I do. So nobody didn't want it. Anybody that said wash their hair but me. So that's how I got started, but I sailed through. Everything was fine. Whenever the teachers didn't show any partiality between me and the rest of them, and if anything would happen, he would told me to let him know, and he was straightening out because I was black, they were white, but both of our mothers were green.
Hello.
And that's what he looked at.
Hello.
So if I talk too much, I have a lot to say, but I'm going to stop
We
right
have
there, okay?
45 minutes to kill.
Okay.
You're
I'm
not
not
understanding.
I'll stop right there. Okay.
What you got, Brooke? Because I can ask the questions that I need to ask. So, you're in business together. And we've been asking all the same couples the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make it work being in business together and being married, and you spend all of your time together? How do you manage to not kill each other?
Wait, before you answer that, last week we were discussing this
Mutasa.
with Mutasa, and she was saying she and her husband own a barbershop, and they're expanding into a barbering school now. And she was saying, they don't ever really turn the business aspect off. When
She doesn't.
Well,
He
she
does.
doesn't.
He
So
does.
I noticed that's one of the first things you said, Miss Carolyn, that you all do separate business and your relationship. So how are you able to make that distinction between the two without them clashing?
Okay. He calls me Sister Johnson. That's his name, but which is fine. I might call him Mr. Willie. I probably say Mr. Willie, but we don't communicate at the shop as husband and wife. We business partners. Even and then we have to put a business. Not a front. You got put your business attire to separate yourself. And then, like I said, if anything happens at home, you leave it home.
Yeah.
You don't mix those two together. Business is business. You don't separate mine is mine. It's ours. You don't separate that. And then you do what you're supposed to do. You work and you take it as a job. It is your job. This is your living. This is your life. You take it as your job. So you do your job, just like you was working for someone else, but you're working for the public. So you got to show yourself approved to the public. You can't mix business with marriage.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I handle it.
So when you started school and you weren't able to do heads, and you said you were doing the mannequin hair on the mannequins and using the amazing innovation of the Johnson grass.
Right.
That's just amazing to me.
Right.
When were you also doing hair for, your friends or family at the house? When were you able to actually do your first head under that supervision of the school you were at? Was there prejudice?
Okay. You
Who was the first live head you did?
Yeah.
The first live head after I got the business.
Yeah. Well, in order to get your license.
First live head. Okay, like I said, it's been 33 years. I can't remember.
Was it one of the clients at the school? Did somebody come in to support you? Like one of your sisters come in to support you?
I understand. Yeah. It was my mom, my mother.
Well, what I was saying, how long was it from you beginning school to actually getting to do your first hair in that environment?
After I got into school,
How long did it take you to get your license?
it took me 15 months. Normally it would take 9 months, but by me just going in the afternoon, I didn't get my hours as fast as I should have I did get my hours as far as me get my hours, but the timing wasn't exactly right. But it was time enough for me, in order for me to get my papers in, to get my time for me to get my go be examined in Atlanta. Okay. But it took me longer than it did the other kids because for one thing, we didn't start at the same time. Everybody couldn't have taken the test at the same time because we didn't start at the same time. There was no like you first started in school and everybody got to start at the same time. No, you start because they were already there. But I just advanced more than they were because I was getting my work while they was playing around.
Yeah, and you had perseverance. And
Right. And like I said, I was already 40 years old. I didn't have time to mess around. And my husband had already opened a business. And I had already started coming down on the weekends before I got my license. And I will be straight up with you. Keep it real. I saw the money that I made over the weekend.
Ain't nobody in business to lose money.
And I
That's for
would
sure.
have no, what I'm saying
Here
is,
to make
I saw
money.
the money that I made over the weekend that I made a whole 2 weeks on my
Right.
job at the ladies'
Straight
service.
up.
And I was so excited about it. I had asked my husband, is all this my money? He said, yes. So I just stretched out on faith. What I did, I left my job before I got my license. I started working. I said, you know what? I'm going to work under my husband's license and hoping and praying that I would soon get my license because I had already applied for it. But you still have to wait your turn when they call you in to go to Atlanta to take the test. But anyway,
because I know you wouldn't thought.
right.
But I got 2 statements / questions from this whole story because Facebook is full of memes. You see them all day. And Lana happened to tag me on. Right. Lana Palmer happened to tag me in one about traditional relationships. And she said, you know, I believe in the man being the provider, the woman staying home. You know, if she chooses to work, then, you know, that's just her hustle. You know, but her place is in the home, taking care of the home, taking care of the children. And I responded. I said, you know, I've seen that fail, you know, for a lot of women thinking about, you know, Aunt Maddie when Uncle Arthur died. I'm telling y'all all my family history. But, you know, my aunt wasn't working at the time and her husband was working full time and he died at a very young age. And she has struggled financially since then. And so that was one aspect that I looked at. And then I said, my grandparents have been in business together for over 30 years. And they manage finances together. There is no, I'm paying all of this, you paying all of that. They manage finances together, and it works for them. And they've been married for 56 years, and I've never heard an argument about y'all fighting about money. Never heard an argument about y'all fighting about money. And so I asked this question: what is your view on how to make a marriage work financially?
You want to talk to Mr. Willie? I can talk.
I'm good on this one.
Well, to make a marriage work, a relationship work, you have to work at it. You know, you have to give and take. You can't be the boss of everything. You can't be the leader of everything. Some things you have to follow. You know what I mean?
Wait, hold on, Mr. Willie. Can you say that one more time?
Please.
Please say it one more time.
That's just plain truth. You know, some things you just have to follow. You know, if you're not a good follower, you can't make a good leader.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And you just have to be careful how you gonna follow or how you gonna lead. You know, because you know, no one is right all the time, and no one is wrong all the time.
Yeah.
So you just gotta be willing to say, I was wrong that time. If you can always admit when you're wrong, you can make it. But if you can't admit when you're wrong, then that means you ain't gonna ever be right. You know, and that's how you make a relationship work. And you gotta want it. You gotta want it. You know, in my case, I got married and I said to myself, I'm only gonna marry one time. That's what I said. I didn't know what I was saying at that time. I was so young. How old I was? 19?
And you were younger than that. You know, I was 14,
You know
was
what?
like 15, 16.
Hush, hush, hush. I was a singer traveling around the world. I travel around the United States, you know, with professional singing, you know, and I wanted my wife. I've always wanted my wife. You know, when I got out of town and things got tough, I found my way back home. You know, and that's what kept me grounded. You know, because I wanted my family. I wanted my family. I didn't just want to be with my family. I loved my family, and we're still together right now. You know, are we together?
Oh, yeah. Let me say something. Like I said, we were young when we first met. We were very young. He was still climbing trees, you know. Really, when we first met, we were very young. We started off young. He was my first love. My first love. Most of the time, your first love will always be your only love, no matter what happens in between that. And as far as you're getting along, do you know what it is to really be in love? Love covers all faults. It covers all faults, no matter what. And when you commit yourself to someone, you committed to them. No matter what they do, it hurts. God knows it hurts. But then it seemed to me when they come back, we argue. I'm not going to say we argue, sure we do. But it never got so vicious that we really want to hurt one another physically. And then, like you said, I'm always be the one that want to stay mad, but that's a woman thing. We're still together, but everybody's different. There's nobody just alike. We all different. We all got our own faults. Nobody is perfect. Nobody's perfect. But you learn to deal with it. But like I want to say, when you commit yourself, this is it. That's how you stick together. I've seen him sick. He's seen me sick. And when you seeing sickness, that brings you even closer together. You for me, I'm for you. The older you get, the more closer you get, the longer you stay together, you find yourself drawing closer and closer to that person till you find that person. He's part of you, I'm part of him. When he hurts, I hurt. If something's wrong with him, something is wrong with me. This is a song they say, when something's wrong with my baby, something wrong with me. That's a true song.
We're going to stick. We're going to stick. We're going to be just like a stamp. We're going to stick until we get where we're going.
Every day is not a good day. Every day. It's not a good day. You can rub your hands together, you're going to cause friction. But sometimes you need to find your little space. Even if it's in the backyard, or go take for a drive or something and come back and everything is all smooth. But like I said, when you commit it to up here, first you commit yourself, and then you commit yourself to your love, the one that you love, commitment. And I'm trying to be like that to my whole family, my children, my granddaughter, even my grandkids. Be committed to them, no matter what, no matter how little hard feelings, little things that we get into, it doesn't break that bonding together. And that's how we stay together. Through all the years that we work, in the years of our marriage, we are bonded. We're bonded. The more the closer we get, the more we stay together. So there it is.
Boy, there it is. And before I start getting deeper with that, we have a little announcement for the general public.
Yeah, we got to do commercial.
Bear with us. We got to pay the bills with these. This is true, actually. We do pay the bills with these. Facebook Live.
I hope Dave's not watching it. We'll be mad. First of all, we got drinks in this camera. No, you know what? It's too late now. I don't even drink.
Yeah, that was all.
Too late. She saw me pouring at the bathroom.
I didn't know.
all good. It's all good. We'll take the bullet for that later. We showed up on time. We in on time.
Excellent. So once again, you're listening into Real Talk on WRUU Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. So where did we leave off?
Them loving each other through it all, no matter what.
God, I had something to say.
When you think of that, I got another point. I got another point because, back to the Facebook memes, women are expected to hold their man down.
Wait,
until
because that's gonna get deep.
What it is?
So before we go there,
We gotta do the station ID real quick. You are listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Boom.
So that Miss Carolyn was just talking about the importance of staying grounded, and that's the difference between your generation and ours. We're so quick to run away when we face altercations, and what both of you were just saying, Mr. Willie, you said you wanted your family enough that was enough to keep you grounded. Miss Carolyn, you said you all throughout the years the bond just gets deeper and deeper, and you literally cannot let go of that person. So I wonder how our generation will transform our idea of just on to the next. We literally have a show called Next.
Right.
One doesn't work out, we're moving on to the next. So what is it going to take for us to find that level of commitment?
Look, actually, wait a minute. First of all, we got a guest in the studio.
We do.
We got
Put the camera on yourself.
Miss Stephanie Weston, and your mic is on.
And you're
yes,
married.
we do. Yeah, and she's the only married one here.
I'm not gonna.
Brooke is in a relationship. I'm single over here. Single as a dollar bill.
I'm just
boy.
a camera person right now. I'm just chiming in. That's all. I'm not gonna put myself on camera, but.
So, how long have you been married?
It'll be 5 years in July, but just listening to your grandparents about.
Pause it. 5 years married, how long together?
That's
Don't leave that out.
Yeah, 15 years together. So I'm 30. That's half of my life. So yeah, just really listening about first love and just kind of, especially when you've been with someone for a long time and being with someone young. I mean, you have your ups and downs and your difficulties, but I was just really listening and kind of absorbing what you guys were saying, because that's beautiful. 56 years. That's a long time.
57 years in October.
Yeah. My grandparents, they were married 55 years, and I just kind of watched them, growing up, and my grandma died in 2002, and my granddaddy passed 11 months after her, and everyone says it was, brokenheartedness. Yeah. So, it's just really nice to see, 50-something years, because you don't see that a lot nowadays. So that's very encouraging.
So, tell us how you make it work, as a new... Wait. She done hit up with... Right. You can't be up in the studio with a mic in your face.
I'm just here. I didn't know. This is all about them. I mean, I'm just living day by day. That's really all I can say. I mean, you really don't know if it's going to work. I mean, have your ups and downs. I mean, but hey, you make it through another day. That's the victory right there.
What makes you continue to want it?
I mean, I don't think anyone ever goes into a relationship in general, or especially a marriage, saying, I want this to fail. Like, you have your days where you're like, oh, I'm over this. Maybe I need to be single. But then you have your days where you're like, let's make this work. I want to make this work. I mean, it's just kind of like they say, like your grandparents say, just kind of choosing, to commit yourself, and, it just has to be on both parties. That's pretty much the main thing. Just both of you guys wanting to make it work.
It's almost like choosing love versus the world.
Right. Right. And have you ever heard of a copy love?
Yes.
You understand what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love you in spite of what you do.
Right.
I'm going to love you anyway. Sure, I'm hurt. But you know, the Father takes care of those things that people can't see, that they can't read it. He means their heart. But if you, and as a wife, you got to do what a wife's supposed to do. You know, I do a lot of, I go as far and beyond. I put other people's needs before my needs. But then I feel satisfied. No, I complain when I get tired, but I'm satisfied. Because as long as you're doing something, if you're doing something, you're going to keep on doing. If you're moving, you're going to keep on moving. If you ever slow down, you're going to slow down. You're not going to. So I keep moving. I keep moving. And they say, why don't you sit down and rest? I'm at ease when I'm doing something. I come constantly.
That woman is always in the kitchen, boy. She need a bed in the kitchen.
Oh, yes. And I always been like that. I don't feel like I really clean house until I move something. I always want myself down moving, but I'm still, that's my desire to change the whole house around again. And I used to paint, like I was the best painter, really.
Yep.
They can tell you I'm one of the best painters that they have ever seen, by myself, with no help at all. I
Cause
paint.
she gonna send you away. That's what she gonna do.
I'm at ease. I put something else in my mind, and I'm constantly going. Put a song in your heart, song in your mind. Think about something good. Think about something happened a long time ago. You know, think about what your mom. My mom was a woman, endurance, perseverance, and I think I took some of her ways. You endure, you persevere. Don't let nothing stop you when you're trying to do something. And you always remember, you got to climb the ladder. And in your life, you got to keep going up, and stay on top of the circumstances, not under the circumstances. Some people say, how you doing? Oh, under the circumstances, I'm doing all right. What are you doing under the circumstances? Get on top of the circumstances.
Absolutely.
And you keep that in life, and you can go on. But I'm going to sit off the subject for a minute. I admire my granddaughter because she's going far and beyond what I've gone through. And I'm just glad that I was chosen to be part of her life. And I just thank God for it. It's nothing I've done. She did it herself. And I just admire her because I see now how she is sailing through things where I was always scuffling. But scuffling pays off. He teach you how to be every round goes higher, every round goes harder and harder. But when you endure something and you condition yourself that this is what I'm going to do, this is going to happen, this is what I'm going to do. So it happens. Don't ever say never, say never.
I know this.
Never say never.
It's about us, but I also have to say about her. She's a go-getter, not bring it to me. She's a go-getter. She will go and get it. And that's what I like about it. Yeah, you're a fighter.
Well, I get it from y'all, and don't get me wrong, I love these compliments. I do. I do. But I know how long this can go on because my grandparents love to brag about me. They do. They brag about me to people in the shop, and I will forever be indebted to them. You know, but we only got about 20 minutes left now. So I'm gonna talk about y'all and me at a different time. We got to get back to the questions about y'all. So thank you for everything that you have done for me, and I really appreciate it. And you have no idea how much it has really impacted my life. Now back to these questions.
Thank you.
So, you mentioned something earlier that was really powerful, and it's something that a lot of memes have been generated about. Number one, and it has sparked a dialogue, especially when it comes to Black relationships. As far as a man supporting his woman and driving her to accomplish more, to mature. And not saying that you weren't mature, but you mentioned the fact that he pushed you to go into cosmetology school, and he financially supported your down payment, you know, with everything that y'all had. And you don't see a lot of men do that nowadays because they want to know and God knows there's been another meme around about Chris Rock saying that women and children are loved unconditionally, but man has to provide. And I say that's false because a woman is always supposed to be the down chick and be there for her man, ride or die. And I see the complete opposite occur when it was time for you to get your license and you got to a point where you quit your job and relied solely on the business that he had built. And that's not something that you see often. You know, I don't know about your time, but now you're not going to see a man wait around on a woman to get her stuff together. He want her to come with everything, hair done, nails done, everything big. You know, so what was it that, you know, made you feel comfortable to take over everything and support her dreams without feeling intimidated?
Well, I never did feel intimidated, but what made me wanted that for her is because I saw her going to work at that laundry every day, and every week she was complaining, I'm making no money. I'm making nothing. And the work is hard. You know what I mean? And I kept looking at it and I kept thinking, I said, now we can do better than this.
Right.
We can do better than this. Not you can do better than this. We can do better than this here. And I said, now I want something better for her. I got it. But now I want her to have it. You know what I mean? And that's why I was on her to go to school and get this here, because we going to open up our own thing. And we going for it. If we fall down, somebody pick us up. You know what I mean? You got to remember, you don't know what success is if you never have failed.
Right. I want to put that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
You know, and that's how we got started with our thing. I wasn't thinking of just me going in business. I was thinking of we going in business, even though she didn't know how to do no that.
Right. But one thing I did, and I'm not patting myself on the back. One thing I
Pat
did.
yourself on the back.
One thing I did, I supported his vision, because I have to admit, when I first got started, I didn't have that vision of doing hair. I never even dreamed that I would be in a beauty salon, a business like we got now. This long, it's kind of hard to believe, but you know, with belief, you can do anything.
Well,
But
let me
I
tell them
supported
this.
his vision.
Right quick.
Yes.
And that's excuse me for cutting you off.
Go ahead.
But that was the place I'm in now. That's where we been. That whole block was boarded up.
Right.
Was boarded up.
Right.
Been boarded up for 20-something years.
Right. It was a slum.
But you know what? When I got ready to open a business, I kept looking at that place, and every time I passed there, something say, "That's your place." So one day, I took her by there, and we got out the car and had to kick the door down. It was boarded up. We kicked the door down, kicked the old bolts from the door, and walked inside. And she said, "What do you want me to come here for?" I said, "This gonna be our place." She said, "Oh man." She really got back in the car.
That's the truth. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
But I saw it. I saw it. And that was the place.
It was.
And y'all been there
There
for
we are.
33 years.
33 years.
33 years. When I rented that place, when I asked the man about renting the place, that man said, "What you say?" I said, "Would you rent me that one little spot?" I said, "The rest of them still be boarded up." He said, "We ain't gonna spend no money on that place." I said, "I'll fix the inside if you paint the outside." So he said, "Willie," he's black guy.
Who was the owner? Because that's
Paul
important
Taylor.
too. And who was he?
He's the fireman chief, the chief of what you call him?
He was the first black one, right?
Yeah.
He was the first black fire
Mhm.
chief
Right.
for Savannah Fire.
That's
Right.
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 So Paul told me, say, well, Willie, I'll paint the outside. I said, well, I'll fix the inside. And so we got started. So I said, well, how much rent you gonna charge? Paul said $125.
$125.
If rent were that much today.
Right. No, I want to interrupt you real quick before you get back to your story.
Good.
The rent was $125 a month in 1985
That's right.
for the building that they're in now.
That's right.
I'm not gonna say how much rent they pay
I
right
can't
now.
say it now.
Yeah, because that might upset some folks. But that building now is worth $679,000 on MLK.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Worth that much.
Mhm.
So you can imagine what the rent is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. But you know what? I sum it all up like this. We were blessed and highly favored.
Absolutely.
And we did that long, and we remodeled that place like 3 times over the
Three
years,
times.
right? 3 times.
Mhm.
We remodeled, changed the whole thing around. All of it out of our expenses. There was no help from the landlords, no help at all on the inside of that place, none of it at all. None at all. New fixtures, light fixtures, plumbing. We were blessed to put all of this stuff in place, and everything is still going fine. Now we have some little bumps every now and then, some little drawbacks, but then we still made it work. We still made, and you know, I have to say, we have been blessed with some good customers over the year. Some of them stayed with us until they passed on. You know, over the years, people died. They stayed with us until they passed on. But every time a person passes on, a new one coming in the door. Whoever goes at that door, the swings open both ways. Some go out, some come in. But we are, like, why do we say? Well,
I'm
like
one of the
this,
oldest ones now.
old school.
That's,
We are.
Y'all are the oldest black hair
Yeah.
salon in
Right.
Savannah.
Right. I still go
me
back.
and Jake Williams.
Right.
Is he still open?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is he?
On Park Avenue in Montgomery.
Okay.
You know, I was trying to keep up with styles at one time, but now I'm going back to old school. Whoever said I want a hot comb press, I got my tools. Whoever said I want a hot curl now, I got my tools.
Well, I think that's
blow
important
dry.
because
Yeah, I keep
we
my
get
old
so
stuff.
caught
Everybody
up
don't-
in current hairstyles that we
Right.
don't remember hair care.
Right.
Right.
And not
Exactly.
only that, we're all natural nowadays, and this natural is tough.
Yeah.
So you need more than just these
Right.
electric
Right.
flat irons. You
Right.
need
Right.
that stove power. Because that's the only thing that's gonna straighten this.
Yes.
Baby straight comb, mama
Yes,
straight comb,
Lord.
daddy straight comb. 3 different sizes. The little one, the mama one, and the daddy one. And when you come out of that place, you don't know whether you got a perm or not because that's the comb that laid it down.
Yeah, it is.
And
She
we
do
as-
that to my daughter hair.
Oh yeah, you have to straighten it out.
Look
But
out
you
there.
should be surprised how long her hair is when I straighten it. And it's a natural thing. Sometimes you want to wear it. You know, you got your choice how you want to wear it. But sometimes a mother like to see a little child like a little angel sometimes. You know.
But Mari looks like an angel all the time.
Yes.
I don't know about that behavior.
We're gonna pause it right here and give you another service announcement. WRUU presents one of the world's finest auto harpists, American folk singer and storyteller Adam Miller, in a concert to benefit this non-profit, all-volunteer community radio station. From his remarkable repertoire of more than 5,000 songs, the inspiring and engaging Miller will present I'll Sing You a Story, folk songs for children and families. Join us for this all-ages WRUU benefit concert on Saturday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Savannah on Trout Square. For more information, visit uusavannah.org. So we're back with Mr. Willie. So, one thing you all, we only have 11 minutes left. And I did want to touch on one thing you were saying about having that support for Miss Carolyn when she went back to school, because what I see with a lot of couples in our generation is you'll have the wife. Well, from what I've seen personally, you'll have the wife or the girlfriend, the female, striving to branch out on her own so she doesn't have to work for someone else. And she doesn't have that support from her significant other. It's almost like that person is intimidated by her wanting to strive for more and, wanting to work for herself. I've seen that a lot, and it's disheartening because, I was in that same position when I published my first novel. Going out there you go out there on a whim. You go out, just like Miss Carolyn said, you go out there on faith and you hope for the best. And when you get it, it's so much better when you have that support.
Well, it's not hard. It's just a different time now. It's a different generation now. I don't expect you all to live in the remedy that I lived in because things are not the same anymore. Everything has changed. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. And so by couples not coming together and striving together to make things work, I expect that now because it's different now. Everybody want to be independent now. Everybody wants their own thing. Nobody want to say it's our thing now. Everybody wants to say, this is mine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If they could ever get past that, not going back to where we was, but if you can get past and say, this is ours, this is what we gonna do, instead of, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is what you ought to do. See, that's what trips us up now.
Yeah.
We don't think about how the other person would like to have it. You only think about how you want it to be. And that's terrible. Because what you want it to be, maybe you might be the only one want it like that.
Yeah. And then on that same note, it's just so tough because instead of being, like you said, you wanted both of y'all to win. You saw an opportunity and you all basically turned a last resort, so to speak, into a passion, into a thriving business.
Yeah.
That's basically a pillar of this community.
Yeah.
And that same, what am I looking for? I'm losing my words. That same mentality isn't, our generation just doesn't have that. Like you said, everyone's out for themselves. Rather than seeing, okay, I have this going on for myself. How can you help me increase this? I'm just thinking, how can I increase this? And the problem is we can't do it on our own.
Well, it starts from home.
Yeah.
It starts from home before you leave home. That's how you have it. It has to be taught to you. Even though things have changed now, but still, some things should still remain. Some things still should remain. And it can only come from home. That's your first learning. Is at home. You know what I mean? You always remember what you was taught at home. Now all the stuff about you hear them saying they learned that from the streets. They learned that from watching TV. No. They learn it from the parents.
Talk to him, little Willie.
Absolutely.
Talk to him.
That's why parents have to be mindful of what they say in front of Myra and this little fella. You have to be mindful of what you say in front of them because they'll remember that next year.
Sure will.
You know?
well.
And we don't think about that. We just think about, I said it and I ain't gonna take it back.
And that's our problem.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. So you young folks can make it just as well as we made it, and we didn't have nearly the things to make it with that you have now.
But you had passion,
Yeah.
and you had perseverance, and you made your own resources.
But you are here, so you can have passion.
Yeah.
You are here. You're not a ghost. You know.
Let me tell y'all something. I have been listening to this dialogue all my life. So if you ever see me work as hard as I do, it's because of these two people right here. Like, I have seen them go to work sick.
Yeah.
Sick. My grandfather, he's not going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. He is not working as he used to before because he had a triple bypass surgery at the end of 2016. So he's unable to, endure as long as he used to. But he will still wake up at 6 o'clock or earlier every morning, watch the news, and be down to that shop no later than 8 o'clock to make sure that if anybody walks in early, that he's there to greet them. And my grandmother returned to work a week after she'd had her 4th wrist surgery for carpal tunnel. These people don't stop working. They don't stop working. So it's in their background. My grandfather made it to 7th grade.
Don't tell everything.
I'm gonna tell because it's important because everybody makes
I came out of
excuses.
school. The school caught on fire and I came out.
You know what? He played too much.
It was on
and he
fire.
never went back, huh?
I ain't gonna
He is ridiculous. And my grandmother went back to school and got her GED after my father went to the military. These are two people who had everything against them and still have made a way for not only themselves, but for generations to come after them. So there is absolutely no excuse why we can't do what we need to do because they had nothing. They started with nothing and built a legacy. So and that's another important thing. We build legacies, and I don't think that's a trend that we focus on. And that's why we asked our last two couples, how do they incorporate their children into their businesses? Because it's important that we build legacies. I ain't gonna ask no more questions because we could talk, and we only got like 2 minutes left. So.
But we also have, we're working on our own things.
Right.
We have our two legacies sitting right
there. Yes. And they are inseparable.
Okay, but it's time up. But I'm going to say this, even if it's not on.
No.
But I try to get Manisha to get into the hair business. I try. But I stop. She got to find her own. She got to find her own way.
But just the fact that she had your support.
I was support behind her. Anything that she wanted to do. Anything that she wanted to do that was right. She know I know right from wrong. Anything that she wanted to do. Right. I never stop. Right now, I never try to interfere with anything that she wanted to like because I respect her as a woman now. She's not a child anymore. I respect that. I learned to control myself because you're not talking to a child, you're talking to a grown woman. Let that woman leave her life. If she fall down and pick herself up, but you be there to help her if she wants you to help her. You be there, but don't try to run her life. But what I was going to say this too, I'm going to get through. Society now is different than it was when we were younger. Society is different. Society plays a lot on young people's minds. The world is changing. It's changing. Everybody can see around it's changing. Things that happen now that have never been happened before. They say things are nothing new under the sun. There is something new under the sun. The things that's going on now in this world is not. If you stop, just think about it. I'm not going into no things, but just think about it. Things that happen now that even happened 2 or 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I do this exciting. But
you do because we got 12 seconds.
All these things plays a part on young people's lives. So they are not They're not used to the struggle that we had to struggle because they have things at their convenience. Electricity, cars they own. We didn't have these kind of things. So when we thought, well, like I said, we condition ourselves to do what we have to do. Because you're following after your parents. But if I tell her how my parents was, it's kind of hard to really believe it was like that because they've seen a different point of view. This things is changing. Things is changing. Constantly changing. Morning by morning, new mercies I see different things changing. So they didn't think the same way. This little girl right here should be more educated on a computer and a phone more so than I am. She's just 4 years old. My mind is not conditioned for that. But their mind is conditioned. You know?
They're the future.
They're the future.
And we have reached the end of our segment here. We want to thank Mr. Willie and Miss Carolyn again for coming on the show. Actually, you get the outro because you know all that.
What? Well, I want y'all to tell them one more time where they can find y'all.
You can find us at Little Willie's Hairstyle and Salon, 524 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, right in front of the Burger King on MLK.
No website because we do it all old school.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening. This has been Brooke and Mo with our special guest, Miss Carolyn and Mr. Willie of Little Willie's Hair. And Stephanie.
I'm just a camera person, that's all.
You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Good night.
That's good. Good. We did it, didn't we? We were celebrities.
I don't even know how to cut live off.
Would you take it off this stuff?
Yeah, we're still on live on Facebook. I just don't never go live, so I don't know how to.
Well, as y'all can see, I get excited.
Another successful.
Y'all, I need some assistance. I don't know how to take it off. Oh, it's finished. Okay.
Now, don't y'all be like my friend. I took my friend, I bought me a brand new video camera.
Yeah.
Back at that time. One of the big old things, you know? And he went on, I was doing a show.